I want to welcome you all to the Whole Life Living TV network, sponsored by Sherry Gideon's International, a show that explores simple ways to live life at your highest potential through the latest outstanding topics, advice, and positive news from a healthy, happier, more loving mindset, with internationally known guests and everyday people sharing simple ways to take belief and apply it towards mastering your dreams and life. I'm Sherry Gideons. Thank you for joining us today. I am a speaker, author, coach. I work with people in mastering their mindset and living in the now, utilizing that power from living in the now. So I invite you to go and check me out at sherrygideons.com, or for the Whole Life Living Show website, that is at wholelifeliving.com. I'd like to introduce our guest today. I'm very enthused to have her on the show. This is Angela Blaha. With 22 years of helping people make positive life changes, Angela is a transformational teacher, mentor, speaker, channel, and author. She is passionate about helping people overcoming obstacles through their life journey. Her methods help to decrease stress, clarify goals by increasing optimism and strengthening natural abilities. She works with the councils, who most recently, Angela has embodied 2 councils of light beings that deliver Akash wisdom through a unique energetic experience. The council focuses on strength and courage and is devoted to surrendering of a perfected state of consciousness, which is the natural condition of the soul, pure love. And I want to invite her onto the show. Our topic today is full remembrance and how to use your innate abilities. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you, Sherry. Sorry about the mix-up, and I'm so excited to be on your show today. Thank you.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, I know. I went on live onto Facebook. I got to try out the new feature, Facebook Live, which was so much fun, because to be able to invite people to the show and let people know about, the different magnificent spiritual healers and teachers that we have available to us to really live from our true nature.
Yes. Lots of good stuff out there that we need to access to get our messages out. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I love how you bring the reference of pure love, into the moment, because, as many people know who know me, I've had 2 near-death experiences. And the first one, obviously, it's difficult to describe love at that level. Because it's total freedom. It's like walking on a water, release, of anything that was ever anything but pure love. And so I like that, we're at a time where people are ready to really understand, what that means.
Yeah, I think people are super ready, and I think we're not moving fast enough for some of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I think that, and it's funny when you use the reference to how people think we're not moving fast enough. For myself, one of the things that I've discovered in this last year, more than, any other time in my life, we hear how important it is to live in the moment. Right. And how to utilize, really this power, the power at its full capacity in the moment. And this last year has really been about me, being present and loving right where I am in every moment, but at the same time, recognizing the awareness that I have the choice to shift anything.
Right. Well, and being present, like, we're not taught to be present, right? We're taught to worry about things in the future or to remember memories in the past, but we're really not taught to live in the present moment and to, like, just enjoy who we are.
Right.
Yeah. So that is a big part of my message and how I want to relate to people. It's like, just enjoy who you are. Life's too short.
And what's funny is I listen to you say that, I can actually feel your energy. I can feel, the authenticity of what you just said. And that's what I am enjoying about, really having the show and bringing this message forth is that, every one of us is special. That, there's a uniqueness about each of us. And as we come together in oneness, every feeling of love and joy and harmony and all that is available to us. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Thanks. Well, that oneness is like where we're moving into, right? That's part of full remembrance,
Right.
is remembering that we are one with everything.
Well, so share a little bit more about that. So let's get to the beginning of the topic. When you say full remembrance and how to use your innate abilities, what do you mean by that?
So I've been on this quest for quite some time. In 2015, at the beginning of the year, like I was specifically told by Source to get totally serious about full remembrance and what it really does mean. Full remembrance has nothing to do with remembering past lives. Rather, it has everything to do with remembering who we are as a soul, and love. Like, what does love really mean, and how can we bring it into this duality world? So for me, full remembrance and our innate abilities are simply our abilities to remember, our abilities to use intuition, our abilities to use channeling, those gut feelings that we get. Those aren't there just as coincidences, right? That's our true sense saying, this is probably not a really good decision for you. Or, hey, let's do this. But we have to remember that our soul doesn't scream and holler at us. It's not dramatic. It whispers. It's very quiet. And it's very loving and kind. And we bypass or we miss those kinds of things so much in our life because we're so used to drama, right? We're so addicted. We're almost like we're addicted to it.
I like that you're bringing that topic up. So explain a little bit more about the soul. What exactly is the soul? When you say, it's nice and I mean, I know the soul to be the cog on the wheel that basically just says yes to everything.
Right. Because we live in a world of infinite possibilities. But we don't necessarily, the only person who stops us from that is ourselves, right? And so the soul says, yes, let's do this. Yes, let's do that. But then the ego comes in, who is there to show us duality, and says, well, maybe we shouldn't do that. Or what would somebody say about you if you did that? Well, but yet the soul comes in and says, well, what would somebody say if we didn't do that? So it's almost like we're in constant conflict with ourselves. But when we move back into the soul, and I have a little experiment that we can do that will just totally get you in line with the soul. And so when we move back into that, like there is just infinite possibilities, and life just flows. There's no doubting yourself. There's no like worrying about consequences or what society says is right or wrong. There's none of that because we're in total alignment with who we are.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because I talk to people a lot, about what you're sharing right now. And I have found that there's so much programming of fear and analyzing and rationalizing and scrutinizing rather than, allowing, because there's so much resistance.
Right. Well, we're programmed to be in fear. I mean, let's think about everything in our society, whether it be religion or schools or family traditions, our belief patterns, our thought patterns, right? Any addictions that we have, they're all fear-based. We're not programmed to live in the pure state of consciousness, which is love. We're not programmed to do that. So, and we live in a duality world, which, kind of says, well, love is pretty and kind and everything, but how do you work love in this duality world? How do you be love all the time? It's a hard concept.
Yeah, I know it is. It is because, having had the experiences that I have and being in the place like I can feel you are, where you just are a giver and you want to give people this knowledge and this awareness. But you have so many questions that, from everyday people who are not at where you and I are at in awareness. And their questions are, okay, so tell me, what is duality and separateness? I mean, in reference to the illusion, because as you said, there's so much programming around fear and the illusion in our subjective mind that, you know, we don't understand that we're seeing this power that we truly are as separate from us.
Right. Well, let's take me, for example. I've been programmed to believe that I was separate from source, from, you know, ascended masters, from being able to channel councils of light, from the light. I was believed to, you know, I was programmed to believe that I was separate from that. But what really separation is, or the illusion of separation, is simply the illusion that we're separate from ourselves. We don't go inward to ask the soul, is this a right choice for me or not? Instead, we look outside of ourselves, which is the illusion. We shouldn't be looking outside of ourselves for our answers, for our choices. We should be looking inward, and we should be looking like to the soul for direction. Is this in alignment with who I am? Is this vibrationally matching who I came here to be and what my message is for the world? So we need to look more inside rather than always trying to seek outside.
Do you think that has a lot to do with comparison and judgment?
Well, yeah, because that's fear-based, right? And the illusion of separation is fear-based. So it has everything to do with that, yeah.
Yeah, because you see a lot of people, you know, what I would call everyday people who just want to enjoy life. They want to be happy. They want a sense of comfort and to not have to struggle. They want to strive and thrive. And, you know, and then you hear a lot of people out here all over, you know, really globally right now that are sharing different solutions to, you know, achieving wealth and, you know, and to, you know, having better relationships and, you know, stuff like that. And but then at the same time, they don't realize that it's the absence, you know, that you know, they have a desire, and but when they see a lot of this going on in the outside world, they have a deeper desire to want to discover that in themselves, and they follow some of the steps that some of these teachers and leaders are sharing with them, and then they don't get anywhere, and then they, you know, go back into their old pattern or old behavior, and they don't realize that it's the continuous program of the absence of that is creating the experience over and over.
Well, exactly. Well, that's like, so that goes back to the premise of you can't be your own guru, which is a fear-based concept as well, right? And my belief is you are the only one to be your own guru. Like you can follow leaders and spiritual teachers and, you know, anybody that you look up to, you can follow them, but you always need to come back home. And where is home? It's the pure essence of the soul. You should always discern. Everything that you learn throughout your whole entire life should be a discernment. Is this asking yourself, is this really in alignment with who I came here to be? Is this really my understanding? Full remembrance has everything to do with being confident in yourself and knowing and understanding yourself so well that there is no doubt within yourself, that you truly, truly know where you are, why you came here to be, what your gift is to this world and yourself and everyone around you. And there's no question about those kinds of things.
No, I like that. I really like that a lot, you know, because it really resonates with me. And, you know, that's one of the things that I mentioned in the very beginning is living in the now. And that's what I want to ask you. So how can you share with people about full remembrance and how to really utilize, you know, first of all, living in the now, and then secondly, going a little bit deeper and share more about vibration and how the vibrations that we put out in the now and how much they affect our lives.
Right. So we've been taught, Eckhart Tolle has been teaching us about being present and being in the now for years, right? But really, what does that mean? Like when I first learned about, you know, being present, I was like, oh, that's a great concept, but how do I really bring that into daily living? Right? Because we're so busy that we can't seem to be present at every moment of every day, but you can. And this is how. So can we do a little experiment?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I want you and your listeners and all the listeners to just take a nice deep breath in and close your eyes. And on the exhale of your deep breath, I want you to pull all of your energy into your lower 3 chakras. So like from your chest down to your seat. And let's do it again. Take a nice deep breath in and pull all your energy into that area, into your lower 3 chakras. And just settle into that energy of who you are. Pay attention to what it feels like. Can you explain what that feeling is? It's very peaceful, very calm, very tranquil. This sense of who you are is your soul. This is your love. It's not dramatic in any way. It's just pure love. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Wow, that was pretty powerful.
Right? So Goddess Lakshmi came to me about last fall or last summer and said, and I have a really hard time grounding into the earth and feeling connected with the earth because I'm so starry. I have a lot of star energy. And so she taught me how to do this, like ground into your own energy system. Now you can feel and be present here on this beautiful duality earth that we are, but yet this is what being present means.
You know, I want to share my experience of it just because meditation is, you know, part of my daily practice. And I, you know, believe it or not, I do it several times a day. I call it, you know, going back to the pillow.
Right.
You know, just because I understand the power of it and for the simple things like, but one of the things that happened to me when I just completely let go and allowed you to guide us, I was fully aware of moving the energy directly to the 3 chakras, 3 lower chakras. I haven't had that experience before the way you've described it, where I was so conscious of placing it right, allowing it to go right there. And then it was like when you said grounded, that was the best way I would describe it without even knowing that's what you were guiding me towards.
Mm-hmm. Right. Isn't it just beautiful? Like when Goddess Lakshmi brought that to me, I was like, wow, I am truly at home. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I can say that I am present and I am truly at home. So how do we bring the duality and the presence of being in your own body is by doing that. And I do that several times a day, just especially if I'm like hurried or if I'm like can't quite figure out if I'm making the right choice for my life. That's what I do. I ground into myself, into my own energy system, and it's pure clarification. Plus, it's pure love. So it's just like, okay, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What are some ways that, you know, people can be more aware of living in the now? And, you know, for example, you talk about frequency and vibration. How can they be more aware of what that is revealing to them and then being able to use their innate powers to shift that? Are you saying use this technique?
Well, you can use this technique. This technique really like hones you into who you are, being present, fully present. Moving into and then once you're in this space, like you can feel your own vibration. And when you have choices to make and you're not quite sure if those choices match your vibration or match the message that you came here to deliver or to be, move into this area, then ask your question within inside this area. Because there's pure clarity, right? When you're in pure love and pure truth equal pure consciousness. You're in a pure state of total consciousness. And that's what happens when you're moving into this state. But other ways that you can feel your vibration or move into your own vibration is when you're making choices. Does it light you up? Does it set you on fire? If something does not set you on fire, it's not in total alignment with who you are and why you came here to be. So you need to ask yourself, I do 5 whys. Why am I wanting to do this? Why is this, and I keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into the subject until I truly find the answer. Is it in alignment with who I am? Does it match what I came here to be? Does it match everything that I speak as my truth? So 5 whys. Why? Moving into your own energy system, feeling that vibration of who you are, that pure consciousness. And then, asking yourself, is this really a good choice for me? We're so programmed to just sort of go with the flow or let society decide what our choices are, when we shouldn't be doing that. We should be coming back into who we are and saying, oh, is this a good choice for me?
So are you saying that the quality of questions we ask ourselves, or the way that we frame those questions throughout the moments of today, are what determine the quality of answers we receive?
Yes, because if we're just asking surface questions like, oh, how's the weather? We're going to get surface answers, right? Instead, if it's like today, we have a blizzard outside. So let's just go with that subject. So what does it make me feel like when there's a blizzard? Does it make me go internal, or does it make me shut down? Those are 2 different questions, and they're 2 different answers. Going inside does not mean shutting down. Going inside means, oh, I get to write today because I'm moving with nature and the vibration of nature. And the nature says, slow down today, stay indoors, and do some writing. Right? Versus I'm shutting down because there's nothing to do, so I'm going to numb myself with TV or being on the computer. It's 2 different things. So the quality and the way that we ask the questions, words have vibrations. They are very powerful. We ignore that, and we shouldn't be. We should be really paying attention to the vibration of words, and does it keep us in an upward spiral, which is where where enlightenment happens, where pure love comes into play? Or do the words that we use and the questions that we ask ourselves keep us neutral or in a downward spiral? Those are very important things to pay attention to when we're really looking at love and what does love mean. And remembering who we are, right? Those words are very, very important. So ask yourself, is this a word that vibrationally matches who I am? So full remembrance, that's something that vibrationally matches what my message is here and who I came here to be. Speaking about pure love, pure truth, right? Being the whole consciousness of your soul. Those are all words that match who I am.
Do you think that people analyze and rationalize and scrutinize all of this and call these methods or these ways of thinking or believing airy-fairy?
Well, probably. But what is living? So living in this 3D world does it cause conflict for you? Are you living vibrationally happy? Are you fulfilling every want, need, and desire that you have? Because we have infinite possibilities. And so, are you really living those infinite possibilities? Or are you just going to work, coming home, numbing yourself with TV, right? Going out on the weekends, whatever you desire? Is that fulfilling who you are? Or is the hairy-fairy, the woo-woo stuff fulfilling who you are? There shouldn't be judgment about any of it, because that's what pure love says, right? Is no judgment, just infinite possibilities.
I love that you brought up the whole infinite possibilities conversation, because, one of the things that I've realized, for myself is that, I'm a licensed spiritual practitioner. So I've been able to work on Sherry in a way where I recognize in any given moment, based on what's showing up, where my habitual, attention may be at. And so if something's showing up in my now moment that doesn't feel good, I've been able to recognize that immediately and then immediately choose to connect with what feels good. And I do it in different ways. One is I ask myself a question, what is it I really want? And that's one of the easiest ones for me because it connects me to who I really am as a spiritual being. Meaning when I ask myself that question, the first thing that comes to me is I want to travel the world and help people of all ages discover their own greatness. Ooh, that feels good. What I really want to do is I want to travel to these amazing destinations, Indonesia, Bali, China, the Bahamas. And I want to just do what I do best. What's that? Talk. So, ooh, that feels good. So as I'm speaking this, and you said words are vibrations and they're powerful. And so as I speak that and I connect to that feeling that feels good, suddenly guess what? I'm playing full out and I'm that little girl that I truly am.
Exactly. And doesn't that feel good? Like, don't you feel like you can conquer the world?
I do.
It's so empowering. So self-empowering.
Well, and not only that, when you say self-empowering, the other thing, that connects me is with when something you said earlier, about, how we try to make this where, we can't believe it, this airy fairy mindedness where we can't believe it. And you use the word infinite. And the thing that comes to mind with me on that is if we could train ourselves just like, an operating system in a computer, and it has a brand new operating system, and that sucker's going fast on the information highway and getting us to all our destinations, and as we connect to what we would call good and greater good, there's infinite avenues, channels, and opportunities that good could reveal itself beyond what we could ever rationalize.
Exactly. And so why do we keep ourselves in these little boxes?
Yes.
It's a reprogramming, though.
Right.
This kind of the stuff that you and I do, it is a reprogramming, and it does take work. I'm not going to lie. I've been doing this all my life, right?
Right.
It does take some work, and you have to be willing to do the work, because I can sit here and tell you how to do these things, but unless you're willing to actually take the steps to make it happen, then it is just woo woo. Right? So yeah. So it's super empowering. It is super empowering when we can learn that we are love, and that we can live every single moment of every day in love and in our truth, in living in integrity with that. So yeah, it's the only way to be.
No, I'm in complete agreement. And I mean, and it feels good just listening to you say what I believe. I mean, that belief resonates in me and it feels good. So, but I get constantly from people, and I have to be really careful too of not wasting my energy. And that's what I try to share with others as well, is we're not here to convince people of their truth. I'm a believer that what you're seeking is already seeking you. And so if you're seeking something in yourself to understand, like I said earlier, there's going to be infinite avenues, channels, and opportunities that are going to reveal to you what you're seeking if you just get out of the way, stop crimping that hose and allow.
Right.
But, do you think that, people just, they don't want to do the work?
Yeah. Well, who does want to do the work?
Yeah.
Right? Because we have to literally look at ourselves honestly. And that sometimes is a very uncomfortable thing to do.
Do you think that we have to go through experiences of pain and struggle and setback and challenge to come to this point where we're seeking this?
No, because I believe that you can either jump off the cliff or you can take baby steps to get to where you want to be. And once you start asking like those 4 soul questions, like the one that you just asked before, what do I really want? That's one of the 4 soul questions, right? The first one of them is, another one is, who am I? Who am I? Right? What am I grateful for? What do I really, really want? Those are all like questions that pull you inward. you can't find the answers to those outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that you can allow yourself to go in or to take baby steps, a lot of my clients take baby steps, just because they're comfortable with taking those baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a reprogramming. For me, I like to jump off the cliff.
Me too.
It's easier. I don't have to do all the little tiny work, like the feeling emotions. Emotions have to match your thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's an easy way to do that. You just simply go into the emotions so deep that there's a clear understanding of what it really means. And you have to get a working definition of what that emotion means. That, again, it leads into vibrational words and how did they vibrationally match you? And if you don't have a working definition of it, then it's always going to be like sandpaper.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what you need to do is just get your own working definitions.
So how do we do that? How do people do that? Get their own working definitions?
Well, let's take the word sadness. Lots of people have sadness because they get stuck in the grieving process.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sherry, for you, what does sadness mean?
Sadness is where, I'm an empath. So sadness for me is just extremely depressed, and, I've given away all my energy and I'm completely drained.
Does that match you vibrationally?
No.
So what if I said sadness is just the remembering of the good times?
That's a totally different feeling.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, does that match who you are?
Yes. Absolutely. When you framed it that way, absolutely.
Right. So we just have to get these working definitions of the words. And once we match that vibrationally, like there's no pain and suffering.
Wow.
Right? We don't have to work through these emotions. So like we don't have to be depressed. We don't have to be anxious about it. All we have to do is get our own definitions so that they match us vibrationally, and then those emotions match the thought, and we can just accept it, have those aha moments, and move on.
Mm-hmm.
That's jumping off the cliff.
Do you think that we have the tendency to look too much at the past, and that's what's causing a lot of that for ourselves?
Right. Well, we've been taught that sadness is being depressed and, being miserable, those kinds of words. Mm-hmm. Those pull me into a downward spiral very quickly. Mm-hmm. Because as empaths, that's what we do, right? Mm-hmm. We go wherever the emotion goes. Mm-hmm. But when I put it into an upward spiral, and now it's like, yeah, it is just remembering. If I really think about it, sadness is just remembering the good times. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm lonely or that I'm alone. Those are two different things as well. Mm-hmm. But once we get that clarity, which is always found within us, mm-hmm. then we can make the switch like instantaneously. So I don't believe that even though we live here in this 3D world where we see and smell and feel and touch everything, mm-hmm. I don't believe that we have to, and we live in linear time, I don't believe that we have to take an extreme amount of time in order to make shift happen.
So tell me a little bit more, and because I want to be able to really speak to people who don't understand a lot about what you're sharing, mm-hmm. and who are really on a quest of wanting to live a happier, more joyous life, based on using their spiritual power. What does multidimensional beings really mean? How can they understand what that's about?
Well, that multidimensionality in full remembrance means that we are not here to do this path alone. And that we can access other human beings' energy. We can access angel energy, ascended master energy, star energy, source energy or God energy. We can access all of that. And that's pulling all of those kinds of things into this 3-dimensional state of being. Just because we're here in this human body and we live in linear time with duality does not mean that we have to be separate from pulling that energy in to help us make decisions. or to help us be comfortable in being a human, right? A lot of people that I work with are star kind of being energies. And so they have a hard time understanding emotions and understanding the language because it has opposites. And so what I first teach them is go within, do meditation and find out who you really are and why you're here. And then start to pull in some of those energies, right? If you have a loved one who's passed and you know that they're around you, you can sense that, then use their energy. They're there for you to use. Maybe they have a message for you, or maybe they have wisdom that you can't see because we're blocking ourselves, or because we are just, not willing or wanting to go beyond our little box.
How do you share this type of gifts and wisdom, and with what we would call people from traditional religion, where their whole belief system is founded in the Bible and Jesus, and anything that the language that you and I use is scary to them and very new age and new thought to them. How do you have this type of conversation with people who are at that level of consciousness and help them feel safe and not afraid?
Well, I start quoting the Bible and things that Jesus did say, which are things like, you are powerful. You are spirit. You are God. You are source energy. And so that's, I live in one of those families, in the families who are just very Christian based and just really immersed into the religion. And, I just start little. I just start with little things, and I always sending them love, so that there's just more understanding and more openness. Yeah.
I have my family are ministers, so and I mean, go figure. I've got a biblical last name, so it's just kind of interesting. My parents and everybody obviously knows about my near-death experiences and stuff, and very much like you, now I take baby steps, but when it first happened, it was like the top of my head was opened up, and I was walking in pure love. So I had so many different things going on, meaning I had psychic abilities. I mean, I was able to really have ESP at the time. I had all these gifts and abilities that have been just automatically awakened to me, that I just blurted out everything. I mean, I was so immersed in love that I wanted my family to have the same kind of love that had been given to me in the near-death experience. And what I've realized over time, very much like what you're saying, that, one is I've learned that I'm not here to convince people. I'm here to share a message and move forward. Whatever they're meant to receive from the message, they will. And then secondly, like you said, baby steps, is I've learned to use, from their belief system, the areas that they feel safe with, and communicate from, I mean, in the Bible, it says we're all pure spirit.
Right.
And so, and our Father, go out and do it the work.
Right.
And so if I start to use that kind of language, and I'm allowing God to do the work, I'm getting out of the way of resistance. I'm getting out of the way of the control. And I am simply surrendering and allowing my Father to go out and do the work. Then I've noticed, as I've gotten better and better at listening, that has allowed me to have a better relationship with not only my family, but the people around me and the people that are attracted to me.
Yeah. Right. When we first got on the show, it said that I can feel how genuine I was. I bring that to every person that I see or meet or witness, because that's pure love, right? Or at least that's my intent, is that it's pure love, and that anyone that I can touch or surround in that pure love has no option but to enlighten, right? Or to heal, or to expand, or just to be who they want to be. be comfortable with who they are. Yeah.
I feel that from you. I feel that you bring forth that authenticity of pure love, because, that's one of the things that, when I come forward, I am so authentic, because I realize now too, so many of the experiences I've had in my life, have seemed adverse to so many people on one level, but on another level, from my perspective, I understand what they've been through. I understand what it feels like to have walked in those shoes and to live that experience, but also to persevere.
Right. Right. Well, and that's part of being comfortable with who you are, right? It's like you have such great determination, and you can use that love to like catapult you forward. And like life is blissful.
Right.
Yeah. And people see that. They see that in you and I, right? And they're always like, why are you different? I'm not different.
Right.
I'm not any different. And you can do exactly what I do.
And I remind people of that all the time. I'm like, listen, I'm completely outside of my ego. That's been part of my journey. And, I have nothing that you don't have. I mean, that's how amazing we all are. That's how much of a gift we all are. I'm here just because I want you to step into remembering who you truly are.
Exactly. And everyone has the ability to completely remember who they are as a soul being or a light being. And we all have the same innate abilities. It's just accessing them and using them in your daily life, bringing them in to who you are here in the present moment.
So going back to the present moment, okay, so that brings my question. What does DNA have to do with remembrance?
Well, DNA, so our DNA is attached, our chromosomes are attached to our DNA, right? And there are lots of studies out now that are proving that we don't have just 2 strands of DNA, that we actually have more. And at the ends of chromosomes are telomeres. And there's some new studies out about telomeres and how they receive photon packages of light information. And so if you're wanting to expand into using your innate abilities or, intuitive abilities, or to connect to source a little bit easier, what you can do is activate more DNA strands, which open up more telomeres. And it's the telomeres that receive the photon light information, which is just packages of information from source.
How do we activate more of that?
Well, should we do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So let's take a nice deep breath in. And pull your energy back into your 3 lower chakras. And let's take another nice deep breath in and just settle into that energy of who we are. And now we're going to activate DNA strands 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to light those up. And now we're going to bring our awareness to the ends of our chromosomes where all the telomeres lie. And there's about 70 billion of them. And we're just going to open them up and light them up so that they can receive more and more information for us about who we are, why we're here. Pure love, pure truth, pure consciousness. And if anyone out there is getting a headache or feeling a little bit overwhelmed, you can just ask them to slow it down. Knowing and understanding that we have infinite possibilities. And now take another nice deep breath in and pull your energy all the way back into your lower 3 chakras. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So did you feel all tingly?
Yeah, you know what? That was a trip because I have been experiencing, I ended up this year with severe bursitis in both of my hips.
Mm.
And I have two discs in my lower back that I've lost the cushioning from. I had a career in, the pro bodybuilding world. And I thought I mean, literally mind over matter, overcome all of the pain. But when you just did that experience, I actually felt tingling occur all in that area.
Right. Isn't
And I
that?
can feel it. Literally, all my nerve endings in my hair is like I'm like lit up right now.
I know. Isn't it cool? So
Wow.
that's bringing multidimensionality into this 3D world. Infinite possibilities. Don't stop yourself there. Activate more DNA, and more telomeres. Light yourself up. Do things that set you on fire and get and receive the information. We're not very good at receiving either.
Right. So
But
how do we do that? Tell us how to receive more.
we receive more by doing these things,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we believe that this is really our truth and trusting in ourselves because our soul will never harm us.
Mm-hmm.
Never harm us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the ego's job.
Okay, so I want to, just because I know how people are probably analyzing and rationalizing what we just did, I want to go a little bit deeper into some of the questions. So, all right, so I'm a visualizer, okay? So I was able to go there fairly quickly through the imagination and the feeling, the senses. So when this is occurring, are we going outside? We're moving into mental faculties outside the six senses, moving into mental faculties. And is there anything these people should be visualizing, or go a little deeper?
What we're doing is we're pulling that energy to us.
Okay.
We're not going out anywhere. That keeps us in separation.
Good.
When we pull this energy, this type of knowledge, this wisdom to us, like it integrates physically into our cells, into our mental body, our emotional body, and all of our spiritual bodies. Mm-hmm. It's just waiting out there for us to access. Mm-hmm. And so once we pull that in, there is no separation. Mm-hmm. Right? That's when we are totally in line with our own vibration.
Right.
And we're totally in this being of love. Make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. But I'm also thinking, so for people who don't know, like what DNA looks like or chromosomes or all that, what is a way that you could really help them to identify that inside within themselves doing this exercise?
Well, there's multiple ways, but you can grow eyeballs in the back of your head. Mm-hmm. You want to go really woo-woo. We could do that, or you can just sometimes we don't even need to know, what it looks like or how it is. We just understand that it's there. Scientifically, we know the body knows that it's there. Mm-hmm. And so even if we can't visualize, maybe we can just sense or know that that's really what's happening, so that we don't have to get all caught up into the technicality of all of it. Mm-hmm. We just realize that, well, let's try this and see what happens, right? Right. I mean, we can't harm ourselves. Mm-hmm. That's a fear-based belief that if we go too far out, well, we're not going anywhere. We're bringing the energy to us. Right. So there's, and if things get a little bit, like I said, if you're getting a headache or if your body system gets overloaded a little bit, you just shut it down. You just close off the telomeres and do it in baby steps then, instead of jumping off a cliff like we did. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Are there any other ways that we can utilize our innate abilities that you want to share with our viewing audience today?
Meditation is probably the easiest way to get to know what your own innate abilities are and which ones want to be accessed. And meditation can happen in many forms. It's not just sitting in guru position, right? With your legs crossed and your fingers in a mantra or anything. So find a comfortable way to do meditation. Mm-hmm. Just truly go within. Let's start listening to those little whispers that you get that you think are just gut experiences, or, knowings, those true knowings, start paying attention to those. If you want to go clear out there, call me. I'll take you out as far as you want to go. But so start small. Just start listening to your own self and start trusting who you are. Trust is a big, when we start using our own innate abilities, trust is a big one of, that we've not been taught to trust ourselves either. So.
Now, do you think that part of these, I know I'm a believer, obviously because of my near-death experience, I had a very deep near-death experience, and I was literally shown my soul family. I was met by them. I was met by, obviously, as you've talked about, angels and spiritual guides. And I was basically shown the many potential purposes that I had come in this lifetime to potentially fulfill. And I was shown that every single person that shows up in our moments of today contracted with us before we ever came into the body to show up to help us remember who we truly are.
Right.
Now, are these techniques that you're sharing with us and that people can reach out to you further all geared towards helping us remember that soul vision?
Yes, because a part of us wants to constantly be in blame, shame, or guilt. And when we're in that state, we are not moving back into the soul of who we are and why we're here. So that's again always looking outside of ourselves for answers. And we have to stop doing that. That's in the past. We cannot continue down that pathway just because it keeps us it keeps us separated from who we are. So you have to start going in. And if you're in that space of placing blame or not being not living your truth or understanding your own truth, not living in integrity, which is huge going forward, living, being honest with yourself about everything in your life. When that's the most important thing in moving forward, is just to be honest. And there's nothing to fear about who you are. I mean, you're just pure love. Like everyone else, you're just pure love. And you have to recognize that. And you have to be willing to accept that. That's one of probably the most complicated things when I started Full Remembrance, was truly understanding what accepting and believing and trusting and knowing who I am and why I'm here. That was probably one of the hardest things to get over, because I was, like everybody else, seeking for answers outside of myself. And, I can't do this because I don't have enough money, whatever the reasons are, right? When in reality, that probably wasn't in alignment with who I was anyway. So just take the time to go within. I can't tell people that enough.
I love, one thing that because I mentioned I play full out, and I love being the playful little woman that I am. I mean, to be even more, fuller and richer about the experience that I'm in right now, I'm in my early 50s. So, to be at this place in life and, feel the youth of who I truly am and letting it just like out.
Right.
It's an amazing feeling. But, even more than that, it's the realization that, I can dare to be who I truly am. It's okay. It's finally okay to be who I truly am.
Right.
And to know that people who are resonating with me in that same belief, in that same allowing, are showing up in my now moments, and we're just like laughing and giggling, and we're at that age where we realize that we don't have to continue to step into this dogma world of, I've got to be matured to be accepted and liked in this world, or received as a businesswoman or what have you. that, you know, I can play, you know, sometimes when I laugh full out, I'm not kidding you, I snorkel like a little pig, you know, because that's, but I know when I'm literally playing full out, because I literally start snorkeling and my cheekbones get hard as a rock because I'm laughing so hard.
Right.
You know, but no, I love this subject. I love knowing that I can ask any question inside of myself, and I can allow that higher self to bring me the answer. And because I, like you said, programming, because I have trained myself to, you know, to believe in that habit, literally, I automatically know that it's already done and that the answer is going to show up in, like I said, from a book, from somebody like you, from meeting somebody in the moment, you know?
Right. And that's part of the point as well, is like you have to surround yourself with people who aren't constantly trying to bring you down, right? Like I surround myself with people who are like-minded.
Yeah.
Right. And that is as well so confirming that I'm really on my right path. Yeah. Awesome. And you know, look at the young kids, like 6-year-olds and below, live full on every day. That's where we should be.
Well, you know, you know, it's funny how I always end up bringing this subject up on every show, but the truth is that I have a winter crop and a summer crop of kids. So I'm in my 50s and I've got grown children and grandchildren. And then I turned around and I had twins, which was my second near death. I had twins 6 months before I turned 40, and they're going to be 12 in August. So,
yeah.
Cool. And I'm telling you, they are awake spirits like you would not believe.
Exactly. That's where we want to be, right?
Right.
But, yeah. And it's just a dropping of the programming that we grew up with. There's no blame or shame in it. We took it on. We're just as responsible as anybody else. And so we have the ability and the wisdom and the courage to change it and live like nothing stops us. We have infinite possibilities.
You said it perfectly just then, because that's literally what I've taught the twins from, you know, as young as I can remember, and that they teach people how to treat them.
Oh, exactly.
And if they teach somebody that it's okay to treat them in a particular way, then literally they're going to know that it's okay, and they're going to talk to them and treat them, or, you know, expect them to do something that way every time.
Exactly. We treat people how to treat us all the time. So if I'm coming with only love, right? And I'm teaching them to love me as much as I love them, man, can you imagine what this world would be?
Heck yeah.
I say go for it.
Well, it's funny you bring that particular one up, because I use that one on a regular basis with the twins, because they're complete opposites. And you know, one is what I would call a rebel, you know, daredevil, and then the other one's what we would call, you know, the girly girl. But the girly girl is the one that, you know, I have to really work on. You know, you need to treat your sister and love her and protect her the way you would want yourself to be loved and protected.
Right.
You know? And when I remind her of that, she always goes, you know, she's like, Mom, here you go again.
Would you stop being right?
But anyway, Angela, it's been an amazing conversation with you today. I've really enjoyed this topic, and I absolutely would love to have you on again talking about the council. What I would love for you to do now is to share with our viewers and listeners about how they can work with you, how to connect with you, and the gift that you're sharing with our viewers today.
All right. So I have a special offer of, there's 9 days of empowering show-me's. And they include all kinds of things like activations, meditations. There's some free sessions where you can actually work with me in a shortened sessions. Lots of videos, lots of practical experiences. And they all have to do with just strengthening who you are and who you came here to be. So they're very empowering. You can always find those on my webpage, which is www.angelablaha.com. Or you can go to bit.ly/whole life living. And you can sign up that way too. So yeah, so you can, my webpage also has a lot of events that I attend and how to work with me on there too. So.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I want to really thank you once again for being on the show today. And thank all of you viewers and listeners for joining me here on the Whole Life Living Show. This show is really built about answering the big questions in life. It's about living a happy, healthy lifestyle that really allows us to live in our wholeness. And that's what it's about, is it's bringing experts and everyday people onto the show, just like you, who, are sharing their gifts. They're sharing the specialness of who you are, because you are special, and everyone has something to offer all of us, to living in this wholeness. So I want to thank all of you again. My name is Sherry Gideons. I am a speaker, author, life mastery coach, and transformational leader. You can find out more about me at sherrygideons.com. And you can also go and see what's happening each week on the Whole Life Living Show at our website, which is wholelifeliving.com. I also have a free book available to you on living a happy life now. So I encourage you to go over to wholelifeliving.com and sign up for that. Thanks again. And next week on the Whole Life Living Show, we will be having Flora Shuley on as a guest, and I look forward to having you on again. Please subscribe for my show and follow me on Blab. I am /Sherry Gideons. Thanks again, and see you next week. Bye-bye now. Bye, Angela.
Bye, Sherry. Thank you.